Well, usually we have a packed temple room, overflow crowd. But such is the nature of the times. Hare Krishna to anyone out there and you who are out there with us, associating with us virtually. We're happy to have your association. I guess we could say virtually and virtuously, because the greatest of all virtues is to hear and remember the Supreme Lord. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharani Nirvasesha Sunyavari Paskacha Sadarani Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidveta Gadada Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Raghupati Raghava Rajaram Patita Pavana Sitaram 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 Lakshman Hanuman. I guess you can all hear me, right? The burgeoning masses out there. Well, in case anyone doesn't know, today is the appearance day of Lord Ramchandra. And why we say appearance instead of birthday we'll describe in due course. But first, we should say something about what is on everyone's mind, which is the COVID-19. How do devotees see and process and deal with all of this? Prabhupada was in Paris. Harivilas told me this. Prabhupada was walking in Paris, I don't know the year, Tuileries Gardens, beautiful park in the morning. And one devotee asked Prabhupada, if we are dependent on the mercy of the Supreme Lord, at play in the hand of God, if we're fearless, one of the symptoms of surrender is confident of the protection of the Supreme Lord. And the devotee asked, being a pragmatist, well, then why do we wear seatbelts? So Prabhupada's response was that devotees are fearless, but we're not fools. So like many things, one of the Protam and Otam, the warp and woof of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's presentation of philosophy, is Achinta Beta Beta Tattva, simultaneously one and different. Simultaneously one and different. And Prabhupada said one of the signs of intelligence is the ability to balance opposing points within the mind. It's one of those great sutras by Prabhupada. A sign of intelligence is the ability to balance opposing points within the mind. So of course whatever happens is the mercy of Krishna. Whatever happens ultimately has his benediction. At the same time, we use our God-given intelligence. We are, Prabhupada liked the saying, God helps those who help themselves. So we hope this finds everyone, well, if you're not here in the temple room, obviously you're social distancing. So we have to be careful. And at the same time, but it is our duty to speak frankly. Srila Prabhupada, you can hear it on the tape, I think it's 1971, whenever the Bangladesh war was, 70, 71, something like that. Pakistan, Bangladesh, India. So Prabhupada is in Delhi, and the Delhiites, or Delhians, residents of Delhi, capital, the headquarters of the government, they were very concerned about bombing raids by the Pakistanis. So there was blackout and all that stuff. So in the middle of Prabhupada's having a meeting, a darshan with a number of newspaper reporters. He's just arrived from wherever. And all of a sudden the sirens go off. You hear everyone's panicked in the room, and in a plaintive, distressed voice, one of the reporters asks, "Swamiji, Swamiji, do you have some words of solace in this time of distress?" And Prabhupada says, if the sirens stop, if the bombing raid is over, if the war ends, are we still free from birth, death, disease, old age? Rather, it is the incumbent, inherent nature of the place. So now it's brought into vivid focus with this COVID-19, and we should be very careful. We should be practical. We should protect ourselves. We're serving Krishna. We should protect others. So we have a duty to do that, no doubt about it. As a sidelight, devotees are now making plans. Once things, we figure out what is the new normal, the plan is how to distribute prasadam, because people are going to be in trouble, how to distribute prasadam, nice Krishna prasad. There's devotees are already doing it in some places. There's patterns online. You can learn how to sew a mask, and they're sewing them up and taking them to hospitals, and so there are practical things that we can do, and we don't ignore those. We're simultaneously, one and different, juggling a number of things. But ultimately we understand that this world is a dangerous place. So enough on that. On one hand, it's COVID-19 everywhere all the time, so it's nice to get a bit of a respite or a relief. It's described that the sun is blazing, especially if you're in India or in the tropics. Sun can, or Arizona for that matter, the sun can be blistering and blazing. And if you put up an umbrella, it gives you some relief from that scorching heat. So it's said that remembrance of the Lord, taking shelter of the Lord, that the Lord's lotus feet are like an umbrella from the scorching heat of this material world. So let us take a few moments and take shelter of the pastimes of Lord Ram. So that's my preface. And anyway, you'll understand. There's a theme to this presentation. And the theme is the Ramayana, the narration, Valmiki Ramayana, and also there's a later meditation by Tulsidas. But Prabhupada often accepted as one of the Vedic pillars of Vedic understanding is the Ramayana. So, ayana means journey, travel. It also means ultimate rest, ultimate destination or shelter. So this narration we're going to be quoting from, and everyone who understands Lord Ram and knows the pastimes, the source is the Valmiki Ramayana. So the theme is that in life there will be difficulties. We will face challenges. Even Prabhupada says in many of his purports, a number of his purports, that even Lord Ram, even Sita, of course Ram is coming to play the role of the perfect human being, to show us, like the teacher sometimes will write ABC. Teacher isn't learning ABC, but they're showing the student how to do it, So Krishna comes, and one of those forms is Lord Ram, and he comes to show the ideal life. If we know it, then we can follow it. Otherwise, it's, who do we follow? The latest cover of People magazine, who are we following? What is it? If one blind man follows another blind man, both fall into the ditch. So Lord Ram comes as the Supreme Lord comes as Lord Ram to lead the ideal life. And we find in that ideal life, his ideal example, there are challenges, there are difficulties, there is suffering. That is the nature of life. Now, the whole ethos of modern, since time immemorial, really, the goal of humankind individually and collectively is how to minimize suffering and increase happiness, how to adjust conditions. And it's presented as the cavalcade of human advancement. We've now got heaters, and then when there was darkness, now we have light. We can flick a switch, and we've got so many medicines. Of course, they're a little more humbled nowadays. But the presentation that, this is the progression, that we're solving all of these problems. So we're trying to adjust conditions. But frankly, the conditions, Prabhupada's father used to tell him that, someone has 100 hands and you have 2 hands. What can you do with your 2 hands? So the material nature has 100 hands, and what can we do with our 2 hands? So that there will be difficulty, that there will be struggle, that there will be challenges. That is the name of the game, however you may perfume it. That will happen. So we can't change conditions. We have no control over that, on one hand. What do we have control over, my dear friends in the audience? Yes? We have control of how we respond. Yes. We have control over how we respond. We can't change conditions, but we can certainly control our responses. So what we're going to do here today is take some of the great heroes and some of the villains of anyone who loves to read. If you love Shakespeare, if you love the Iliad and the Odyssey, if you like romance, adventure, suspense, drama, it is all there in the Ramayana. It is the paragon of blissful storyline and adventure. It's got suspense. It's got everything you could possibly ask. And it's so sweetly crafted. So we're going to make a pitch later on. Well, I'll make a pitch now. And we'll come back to it. But this is a copy of a book. This is a summary study of the Ramayana by Valmiki. This is done by our Bhakti Vikash Swami. Now, I have read many, many versions of the Ramayana. This one is absolutely first class. It is beautifully illustrated. It's full of colored pictures and line drawings. It is well written, and it is completely sourced from the Valmiki Ramayana. You can read it with confidence that you're reading real Shastra, pure truth. So we'll get into this later on, and how you can pick one of these up, you'll see later on my email address. You can email me. They're $20. The temple doesn't make any money. We don't make any money. It's just something you should read. But why you should read it, we'll get into it in a second. That's my commercial. Because we live in uncertain and challenging times, what do they call it? News you can use? How do we deal with it? Isn't that the Bible? It says there's nothing new under the sun. If I want to draw a straight line, freehand straight line, you don't watch the line as it's being drawn. You look at where you're going. If you run a race, you like to have a pacer, someone who's faster than you, because they pull out the best in you. So, how to face the inevitable challenges in the Ramayana, there are so many examples of how to deal with life's challenges. But let's first do a few housekeeping just so we understand Lord Ram properly. We've got some time. Well, not much, but we've got some time. Lord Ram the Sanskrit term is avatar. Avatar means to descend, as from a higher place down to a lower place. I can take the elevator from the penthouse down to the ground floor. So proud though we are, this material world where we are now, you are here, those maps, you go to the mall and there's you are here. Where we are, all of us Jiva souls, is in a dark, remote, tiny corner of the creation of God. That's where we actually are. And the Supreme Lord descends, comes down into this material world out of causeless mercy, just to help, just to guide. He sends his great saints. He sends his literature. There's so many acharyas, so many saints, so many scriptures, bona fide scriptures, all with the same message. And he comes himself, and Lord Ram is one of those Krishna coming himself. The example is, well, what's the difference between Krishna and Ram? Prabhupada gives the example. Lord Brahma in the Brahma Samhita gives the example from one candle. I can light many other candles, each of the same candle power, isn't it? It's a simple thing. You light you light so many candles, each candle of the same candle power. Still, Adipurusha, there's the original candle. So Krishna is the original. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the original form, cause of all cause, sarva karana karanam. He's that original candle. But he expands himself, as from the original candle, many other candles of the same candle power. Krishna expands himself, and one of those expansions is Lord Ram. Well, what are you talking about? How can the absolute cause of all causes, that which pervades all things, have a form? You're limiting the unlimited. Well, Krishna has a great sense of humor. What is something we see every day, assuming weather conditions, that's a big hint. Assuming we're outside, talk about another hint. Assuming we're outside, assuming there's good weather conditions. This one just is a giveaway. Assuming it's daylight. What is an example of something that we see regularly that is all pervasive and yet localized? All pervasive, because that's the argument. Oh, God is present everywhere. Certainly we accept that. God is, what is it? Brahmaneti, Bhagavaneti, Parnameti, Brahmaneti, Parmaneti, Bhagavaneti, Shabhyate. The Absolute is realized on three levels. Present everywhere, present in everyone's heart, and has his own place, his own form. So, how is it possible? What is something we see every day of unlimited power, all pervasive, that's also localized? Jamal. The sun. Unlimitedly powerful. And yet you can point, there's the sun. So it's localized and all pervasive. And according to whatever it is, both the Vedas and modern science, there's so many suns. So that the Supreme Lord can have both his own place, his own form, his own spiritual dimension, kingdom of God, and have his own sweet transcendental form, and simultaneously be present in everyone's heart and inside every atom. Why not? If that which is an emanation from a spark of the splendor of God, the sun, can do it, cannot the source itself do it? One other thing. Why, if I put my hand out here and the sun is shining, or even a bright light, why, other than Dravida Prabhu and other than Jamal, for extra bonus points, Ramapati or Mukunda Charana Prabhu, if I put my hand out, and that was sort of a big hint, why does the shadow of the hand have 5 fingers? Assuming, why does there is a tailor in India in Vrindavan who has 6 fingers. Yeah, he gets a little extra mileage. But suppose, why does the shadow of the hand have 5 fingers? Because the original hand has 5 fingers. Right? What's that all about? Ishopanishad, Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachite Purnasyam Purnam Adaya Purnam Eva Vasisyate. Purnam, complete. If God is complete, how can we have something that God doesn't have? If I take a drop of water out of the ocean, I'll taste it. It has salt, it has this, so many. The drop will have the same qualities as the ocean. Not the same quantity. That's the difference. Not the same quantity, but have the same quality. If I have a set of numbers and I take a subset of those numbers, Don't worry, we're not going back to algebra. But if I have a subset of a number, can I have in that subset a number that's not found in the original set? No. Common sense. Purnam, to be complete. We have form, we have pastimes, we have activities, although they're flawed and futile and temporary and all of that. We're the shadow. But the absolute, the cause of all causes, Krishna, He's the source of what we have. We can't have what he doesn't have. So Krishna has a sublime transcendental form, although he's all pervasive simultaneously. And that Supreme Lord comes to this material world in different avatars, different incarnations, and Lord Ram is one of those incarnations. One last example, and then we'll dive into Leela. Sometimes, and they say, well, when the Supreme comes to the material world, when God comes, he has to take a material body, and he accepts material for it's so much hodgepodge stuff. They say, when the governor, sometimes the governor, may go to the prison house. He walks in the front door. Does he also become a prisoner? Although we have a few governors who should become prisoners, that's another, and we have some who have become prisoners. But in the example, the governor, because he's the controller of the whole thing, can walk in and walk out. He visits of his own sweet will, and he leaves of his own sweet will. So if we accept aham sarvasya pravaho mat sarvam pavartate, if we accept that everything is controlled and owned by the Lord, that he's the ultimate controller, certainly he can walk into this material world, he can come to this material world, and he can leave in his own sublime spiritual form of his own sweet will. So we should always remember that when we're talking about Lord Ram, we are not talking about some mundane, although heroic personality. But he comes to set an example for us so we can learn from that example out of his causeless mercy. So that's housekeeping. Now let's dive into some practicalities or some immediate examples. And we're going to go quickly because of the time factor. There is a theme, and see if you can pick up the drumbeat theme of when I describe these different heroes. Now, Lord Ram was about to be crowned the king of Ayodhya. His father, Dasarat, was becoming elderly, and he was the hero everyone wished. He was seen as the son of all the inhabitants, the son or brother of all the inhabitants of Ayodhya. He was Lord Ram, I'm talking about, was deeply adored, and he had charmed them since his childhood, and he was about to be coronated the king. Now, we don't have time to... The Ramayana itself is how long? How many verses? It's as long as the Mahabharata, I believe, if not longer. So, it's an epic. So we're not going to go into all the wonderful details. But Dasarat had several wives. One of his wives, the Kartikeyi? What's the wife's name? Kaikeyi. She was concerned that Ram becomes the king, then my son will have second place, and so whatever. Her maidservant, which shows the effect of bad association, her maidservant was whispering. Mantara was the maidservant? Was whispering in her ear all these, you think it's a glory, because everyone was happy. She was happy. The queen was happy. One of the Dasarat's queens. No, you have to be very careful that this means your son Bharat will be in a second position, and you have to, So the queen had a benediction that Dasarat, she was driving Lord Dasarat's chariot, and she'd saved him. He was knocked unconscious, and she saved him from the battlefield. And he said, I'll give you a benediction. She said, I'll take it later. Smart. I'll save it. I'll take it as an investment for the future. So she now called in that boon. And the boon was that Ram will not be coronated. Rather, he will be banished and to the forest for 14 years. And my son Bharat will be on the throne. Everyone, Dasarat passed out. everyone to say something about Dasaratha because he gave his word. He had to honor. He gave his word. Nowadays, without pointing fingers too directly, the joke is, how do you know if a politician is lying? How do you know if a politician is lying? His lips are moving. It's said in Kali Yuga, there are 4 legs that the bull of Dharma stands on: austerity, truthful, mercy, and cleanliness. 4 legs. 3 of those legs were already wiped out in previous yugas. The 1 leg left is truthfulness, and that's going down. So, but Dasaratha, he gave his word. Although it literally broke his heart. He died later on of a broken heart after Ram went to banishment. But because he gave his word, he had to accept. Now Lord Ram, he was follow all the inhabitants by dharmic duty. He didn't have to accept, but to honor his father, because it was a promise, to set an example for others. He immediately accepted the banishment and went to the forest. He did his duty. Dasaratha did his duty. Above personal pleasure, personal aggrandizement, personal satisfaction, Dasaratha did his duty. Lord Ram did his duty. Sita, a delicate princess, so qualified. To give an example, we're going a bit afar, but it's worth it. There was a bow that was Lord Shiva's bow. There's a whole story we won't go into, all described in the Ramayana, something wonderful to relish. This bow had been handed down, and it was kept on a golden altar. It smoked with fire and flames on a golden altar in the palace of Maharaj Janak, the father of Sita. And no one could string it. Later on, to win Sita's hand, Lord Ram strung it, cracked it. Everyone passed out except for Vishwamitra and Lakshman. But before that, the bow was sitting there on the altar in the palace, smoking and just vibrating. Lord Shiva's bow. Sita's making a garland for the family deity of Lakshmi Narayan. She's making a garland. There was a beautiful jasmine climb in the palace garden, but it was too high to reach. Nice vine there, you know. She nonchalantly, sublimely, with her ankle bells jingling, beautiful form, picked up the bow, strung it, cut the vine, the flower dropped, put it back, and went back to making her garland. So that's Sita, the Lord's equal, Lord Ram's equal in all regards. And also very clever. When she was captured by Ravan, stolen by Ravan, as she was being taken away by his chariot, and Jatayu's chasing after to save her, you know, and he's got his whatever. She very cleverly took some of her bangles and tied them and dropped them so that Lord Ram could get a hint which direction they'd gone. So she's a very clever, equal counterpart. But she also, a delicate princess. But Lord Ram's going to the forest. Of course, Ram told her, don't go, you can't. There's no question of not go. Whatever you accept in life, you accept difficulties, I take those. This is husband and wife. Whatever difficulties you accept, I accept. I'm leaning on you, you're leaning on me at different times, but we're supporting each other. Now, the prenuptial agreement, to draft it, you know, that they can get divorced and who gets the assets, that takes longer to write than the wedding, the marriage ceremony. But Sita did her duty, a wife's duty. Jai, Shri Radha Giridhari. And Lord Ram, as so many candles expand, you know, from one candle. So we talk about Lakshmi Narayan, we talk about Radha Krishna, the same as Sita Ram. So Lord Ram, he could have expanded into, created so many Sitas, so many goddesses of fortune. But to set an example, he accepted all difficulties to save his wife. So again, the theme of duty, the drumbeat of duty. And why duty matters, we'll get into a second. But so that's something about Dasaratha, Sita, Ram. Lakshman. He He could have fought. He could have taken over the kingdom. He's one of the 4 brothers, 3 other brothers of Ram. But Lord Ram accepted, so he accepted. Ram goes to the forest, he goes to the forest. This is friendship. This is loyalty. This is honor. Should we live paltry and petty lives? Scrape up a little stuff? I have, in my role as a priest, I have been to many funerals. I have never heard a eulogy. You know, when they get up and honor the person who's passed away. Oh, he had a brand new red Ferrari. You don't hear that. People are remembered for what they gave, for their qualities, not for what they scraped together, not how they poked this one in the eye, tripped that one, climbed on the back of this one, jumped over the wall and got the golden prize. No. They're remembered for what they gave, for what they did, what they exampled, how they increased the greater good. Of course, the best, deepest good is Krishna consciousness, spiritual awareness. But, so, what is duty? So Lakshman, he went, this is honor, a noble life, to live a noble, we have that choice. To live like Rishabdev says, like dogs, hogs, camels, and asses, filling our belly and gratifying our senses, or live a noble life. And what will we be remembered for? Not for a doggish life or a piggish life, but for a noble life, a life of honor. So Lord Lakshman, off he goes to the forest. Now Bharat came back. The whole scheme of Kaikeyi, the whole scheme, later on she lamented, but the whole scheme was to get Bharat on the throne. Bharat was so upset, he almost killed her. Almost killed her with a sword. But he, intelligence and others, so he over. So what did he do? Did he take the throne and think, now it's mine, like Duryodhana from Mahabharata? No. He put Ram's shoes on the throne. And he sat on a grass mat wearing the bark clothing of an ascetic, eating barley cooked in cow urine, just enough to sustain him. And he simply, as a regent, he simply sat on the side on a grass mat and managed on behalf of Lord Ram, with Lord Ram's shoes on the throne, until Lord Ram came back. Actually, he went to try to get Ram to come back, but Ram said, how can I do it? I've given my word. So again, the theme of honor and duty. Of course, Hanuman. How can we not mention Hanuman? Hanuman is from a monkey race, Varna race. Now monkeys are not generally speaking, they are not very sophisticated. Of course, Hanuman could speak beautiful poetry, and he had mystic power. He was the son of Vayu. I mean, we could go on and on about Hanumanji. But the point made by the Acharyas and made by Srila Prabhupada is that on one hand, on the surface, monkeys are not very sophisticated. In fact, we have Indrajit, the son of no good stories complete without some good villains. So the son of Ravan, Indrajit, all kinds of mystic powers. And if you read about, Ravan had all mystic powers, all mystic perfections. We'll get to him in a second. So countering them, how is Hanuman and the monkey soldiers? What did they have? Different mystic astras and psychic powers, and what were they using? Anyone know their weapons? Rocks, boulders, ripping up whole trees. So externally they were not very sophisticated. And there's a beautiful prayer which I sent out, I think yesterday or this morning. It's from the 5th canto, and it's Hanuman, and he's speaking in such, as a Vaishnava, a humble mood, that I have no qualification. I come from a low situation. I'm not sophisticated. I'm not trained as a great Vedic scholar, and yet you have given me your friendship and your shelter. What was the qualification? Krishna is Ajita. He cannot be conquered. I am fallible. We are all fallible. How can the fallible conquer, subordinate the infallible? Infallible, fallible. Unlimited, limited. Ajit, unconquerable, and we are conquered at every moment. How can the conquered, the limited, conquer the unlimited? Other than Dravida Prabhu. Does anyone know? Which is the whole essence of truth and spiritual understanding. Anyone want to hazard a guess? Devotion. Love. So Hanuman makes that point. And Hanuman, there's these pictures. Of course, they're Brijbasi pictures. I don't know, from that Brijbasi press. But you see Hanuman, and you can look inside, powerful Hanuman. He had mystic power. He could shrink to the size of a small cat when he snuck around checking out Ravana's palace and delivering the message of Sita. When he'd scoped out all of the battlements, they captured him. They lit his tail on fire. Prabhupada points out that monkeys are very proud of their tails. So just to humiliate him, they tied up Hanuman and they lit his tail on fire when he was small size. Hanuman immediately expanded himself, huge size, jumped all around Lanka, lit the whole place ablaze, and standing on the battlements shouted, "Victory to Ram!" and jumped off Lanka back to Lord Ram. You can imagine they were a bit stunned by the experience. But Hanuman, what was the source of his empowerment? What was his pure devotion, his surrender? So how to understand? You cannot, Prabhupada liked the saying, you cannot take the kingdom of God by storm. Now, that is but it's my own segue into, so all glories to Hanumanji, the ideal perfect bhakta, the exemplar of the service mood. Who did, I hope I've got this right, Arjuna have on his flag? Hanuman, because he was in the same mood as his servitor of Lord Krishna. So we have Hanuman, has Hanuman's flag. So this is how to capture Krishna, by pure devotion. In fact, Krishna says, I can't resist it. It's irresistible. Okay, so that's a segue because of the time factor into Ravana. Now Ravana, he was one of the original shape shifters. He could take different mystic forms. He could expand. He had 10 heads, so many things. But often he's presented as uncouth and sort of as a comic, like Falstaff in Shakespeare or whatever, just as a buffoon, a fearful buffoon. But he was highly qualified. In Vedic Shastra, in study, he was a great devotee of Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. Highly qualified. But there was one mistake. He was so powerful that he was building a staircase to the heavenly planets. Why do you have to go there by pious deeds? Just like they want to build their spaceships and they're going to explore everything and, conquer everything. Kingdom of God without God. Hitler took the swastika and tilted it. Says it goes my way. Yes, So this is the archetype demonic, asuric mentality. So Ravana, although highly qualified, tried to steal Sita. And this is the business. Sita, of course, Sita is a real personality. These are historical events. But allegory and analogy is also there. Sita is the goddess of fortune, the source of all material creation. So trying to exploit Sita without Ram, trying to steal the material nature from Krishna. Prabhupada's on a morning walk. We're going to go a few minutes over, but it's okay. Prabhupada's on a morning walk in Mayapur. You can hear the tape. And there's a man, he's a pious man, I'm not criticizing. But he's bragging to Prabhupada. Oh, I own the biggest glass factory in Bengal. I have the biggest glass factory in Gujarat. I am opening the biggest glass factory in Hyderabad. So he's going glass factory, And Prabhupada's, you can hear Prabhupada's cane moving. He's tolerating, he's listening. But to help the man in the duty of the teacher, Prabhupada says, so you have so many glass factories. And where are you getting the sand? To make glass. The man is pious. He says, from Bhagavan. Prabhupada says, and where do you get the silica? It's a necessary element for turning into, from Bhagavan. Prabhupada says, where do you get the coal from your furnaces, for heating it? From Bhagavan. So Prabhupada said, you are simply a thief. You're stealing from Bhagavan. He's claiming my glass factory, my this. So the man is shocked, because nobody, they all flatter. Maybe I'll get a nice donation, but Prabhupada was not that kind of bogus sadhu. So the man is stunned. Then you hear, obviously he's recuperated after a few minutes, and he comes back and says to Prabhupada, he says, but I give donations. I give some donations. So Prabhupada says, all right, you're a little thief. Prabhupada gives him an inch, So all of us are big thieves or little thieves, but we're stealing from Bhagavan. And Hanuman, his mission to how to get Sita back to Ram. So the mission of a devotee is how to engage Krishna's things in Krishna's service. That's the mentality. We have a temple. This was an Elks Lodge. This was a movie theater. It was a factory. This temple was originally built by the Army Corps of Engineers in the 30s as a barrack for Navy soldiers. Yeah, it has a long history. It's a good building, actually. It's well constructed. But now it's a temple to use Krishna's things in Krishna's service. That is the art of a devotee. So that was, even though he had so many material creations, when he tried to steal Krishna's things, Lord Rama's Sita, everything was destroyed. Everything was finished. So it is a cautionary tale to the materialist who wants the kingdom of God without God. Yashastra vidim utsaja vartate kama karate nasasadim avapnavati nasasukam naparam gatim. If you give up Shastra, the guidance, Dharma, you will not be happy in this life. You will not get perfection. You will not obtain the supreme destination. So that's the example of Ravan. We could say much more. Let's say one other thing. He disguised himself to steal. I cannot encourage you enough. People love to watch serials. I think there's something called Game of Thrones. Yeah, it's all, I don't know, some kind of medieval intrigue and adventure and who's up, who's down, and battles, and I guess something like that. People love it. Millions of people. Read the Ramayana. It's all in there. So one of the things is Sita, Marichi, one of the agents of Ravana, also a mystic. There's a whole story about Marichi we won't go into. Read it in Ramayana. Disguised himself as a golden deer. A little fawn. Everyone loves Bambi, flitting and, dancing in the forest. A beautiful golden fawn. So she encouraged, Sita told Ram, you capture it. Ram could understand this may be some mystic power. Either way, either I'll capture it for Sita, or it's some asura, some mystic demonic asura. Either I'll kill it or I'll capture it. If it's a fawn, I'll capture it for Sita. And so he goes. It's a whole story. Anyway, Lakshman goes to help him ultimately, but Lakshman says, "You stay here. You'll be protected." So Sita, as long as she stays within her hut, stays there. She's safe. She's protected. Ravana comes disguised as a sannyasi, an elderly sage, a wandering mendicant, and he comes begging some alms. Please, Mataji. Sweet-hearted, just like anyway, I won't go too far afield. Sweet-hearted Sita goes to give him alms, and that's how he captured her. So Prabhupada points out that we should be very careful, just like with Marichi. Disguised as a golden deer, all that glitters is not gold. Just because somebody has a beard and saffron cloth or speaks some jugglery of words, that doesn't mean they're speaking the truth. Just because they're dressed as a sannyasi, what is the substance? What is the source? What are they actually saying? Are they saying how to surrender to Krishna, how to surrender to God, how to serve God, how to go back home, back to Godhead? Are they speaking according to Shastra, according to Vedic truth? Are they speaking according to the previous teachers? Everything, like when you graph a quadratic equation, does everything line up? Three things, put them in a line, then you know it's true. So Guru Shastra Sadhu, not just some glitter, not just dressed as a sannyasi. So that's also another cautionary tale. So the Ravan had 10 heads. And he had the benediction from Brahma. I think it's Brahma. Shiva or Brahma, but I think Brahma. He had the benediction that if one of those heads was cut off, it would grow back. Now, Prabhupada points out, and Valmiki points out, Valmiki Muni, that those 10 heads represent what? They were real. He's a real personality. It was a real historical event, but also the analogy is there. What were those 10 heads? Name one. Lust, greed, envy, anger. So the complete embodiment of those ill qualities that cause us distress and cause others stress, and that are driving us. Vacho, was it Manasavega, Krodavega, the different pushing factors? Las Vegas, the city. The Vegas are these pushing factors of, people commit passion killings. People, they're president of the United States and they fall down with an intern and ruin their whole lust. These are blinding qualities. Lust, greed, anger, envy. So Ravana has 10 heads. And Ram in his battle is cutting those 10 heads. They're just coming back. We can satisfy those different burning Vegas, those burning desires. But they'll just come back. You scratch an itch, it doesn't go away. It just comes back. Usually, invigorated. Bigger and better and stronger. Doesn't go away. So where did Ram, in order to vanquish Ravana, where did he finally send his arrow? What did you say, Janardhan? He shot him in the heart. So if we want to become free from all these things that are causing us, if we're honest with ourselves, this just causes so much pain. Constantly being pricked. Suppose you were sitting, every time you tried to sit down, somebody poked you. Every seat you sat on was a bed of nails. How long, we drive you crazy. So this is our condition. People are being pushed and burned and harassed. Durga has a trident. Lord Shiva has a trident with 3 prongs. Miseries caused by other living entities, miseries caused by the material nature, miseries caused by the mind and body. Nobody gets relief. So Ravana with his 10 heads. But if we clean the heart, if the heart becomes cleansed, if it becomes, and how do you clean it? By dispelling the ill with the good. A lower taste is dispelled by a higher taste. So by the taste of serving the Lord, taking shelter of the Lord's holy name, taking service in the mood of Hanuman, serving Lord Ram, then these things will be dispelled from the heart, and we will get relief from the blazing fire of material nature. So we can end there. Can anyone help me out? What is the theme? What was the drumbeat theme we've tried to make here? Duty. And why does duty matter? We're all trying to become happy. But these frivolous, petty happiness doesn't scratch the itch, doesn't hit the spot, doesn't solve the problem. And it depends on so many conditions. You got to have the right weather, you got to have the right time, you got to have the right place, you got to be with the right people, you got to be in good health. All these things, like a harmonic convergence of all the planets lining up. And how long are you happy? You work for 11 months out of the year, so you can go for 2 weeks on a vacation on the Bahamas on a cruise. And everyone gets COVID-19 and you quarantined in the, barfing off the rail. Not to be graphic, but what is it? So, but a life that is lived out of duty, as exemplified by all of these great personalities. In every good tale, there's what to do and what not to do. There's an exemplar and a cautionary tale. We have Ravana. We have Marichi. You associate, who became the deer and was killed ultimately by Ram. Tried to allure Sita. Bad association. You'll go in the wrong direction and it will burn you. Kaikeyi, who you listen to? She listened to, was it Mantara? What I just said? Mantara. You hear from the wrong source, you will go in the wrong direction. You'll cause yourself distress and distress to others. We don't just open our ears and, oh, that's what everyone else was doing. Why do you do it? Because that's what everybody else does. Why are we chasing madly after petty set? Well, that's what everybody else does. Get on the conveyor belt. No. So there's cautionary tales and there's exemplars. And a life lived out of duty. A life not trying to alleviate conditions which will never be alleviated. A life that is not trying to scrape together as much as you can by exploiting others, but a life that has the thread of service, duty, honor, service. That is a life that is good for all. It is all auspicious. Devotional service is called all auspicious. It will be good for us. We're happy in any condition. They asked, no, it was not Bill Gates, I forget who it was, one of those multimillionaires, how much money is enough? He said, you never have enough. It's just how you keep score, who's winning. You never have enough. You never get a big enough house. You never get enough cars. Those people have garages. Jay Leno, I don't know how many cars the guy's got. Houses full of cars. Imelda Marcos, how many shoes? You know, I mean, where does it stop? Yeah. So a life of duty, a life of service, a life of honor. It's good for us. And you can do your duty in any condition. Prabhupada says there's different ways you greet. We'll end in a few minutes, don't worry. There's different ways you greet people. If someone comes to your house, to do it properly, you have a Shania band, you have an intoxicated elephant sprinkling water, you have a beautiful seat with an umbrella. Did I say Shania band? You have an opulent 15-course feast. You have a Vaijayanti garland that goes down all the way to the feet. There's a whole description of how you greet a guest. And it's one of those wonderful purports by Prabhupada. Prabhupada says, if you can't do that, well then do this. If you can't do that, well then do this. And Prabhupada says, at least you can offer a sitting place, even if it's a grass mat. You can offer a glass of cold water, cool water, clean, cool water. Spring water or river water is always best. But you can offer a sitting place, a glass of water, and some sweet words. Anyone who can do that. And Prabhupada says, even you can't do that. If you're so impoverished and in difficulty that you can't do that, Prabhupada says you can fold your hands and cry. And any gentleman will appreciate. So we can always do our duty in any condition. Therefore, we're not in anxiety. I need this person to help me. I need these conditions to help me. If only I had this. I used to have that and I lost it. We can just do our duty in our condition. We will be happy. Others will benefit. We will set an example. Good for us, good for others. And at the end of this life, we will go back home, back to Krishna. What more could one ask for? So we will end there. Again, let me get in my commercial. What we hear affects us. What we associate with affects us. We need inspiration. We need role models. Monkey see, monkey do. Garbage in, garbage out. So I think it'll be flashing there. You can contact it. My email address is there. If you want to get a copy of this Ramayana. It's $20. Maybe there's $1 or $2 more for shipping. Contact me. You will, what do they say? Or your money back guarantee. If you don't find this book completely relishable, if you don't find your life changed, if you don't find this as a guide step by step through life, if you don't repeatedly, when we're faced with those inevitable challenges of life, if you don't remember, well, wait a minute, what about Hanuman? What about Ram? Or on the other side, oh, remember what happened to Ravan? If this book doesn't guide you and save you, I'll send you your money back plus shipping costs. No loss. Now, one last thing. We have over here, I don't know can you pan to this? This is $20. Also, today only, If you contact me, we'll let you go tomorrow also. If you contact me and would like a set of the Srimad Bhagavatam has the whole Ramayana summarized in the 9th canto. There's a whole section in the 5th canto where they visit the planet where Lord Hanuman lives, and all Hanuman's pastimes and prayers. So woven throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam is the Ramayana, and all these. So for $250, you can pick up the Srimad Bhagavatam. It is said by one of our great teachers, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. We're not for book burning, don't misunderstand. But if all the knowledge in the world were lost and Bhagavatam remained, nothing would be lost. We teach our children how to brush their teeth. If you don't teach your kids how to brush their teeth, if you don't teach your kid how to cross the street, if you don't send your kid to school, what happens? In addition to raising a toothless idiot, what else happens? Who hates you because you didn't get... What else happens? You go to jail. Child abuse, child neglect. We're all being very careful. Health and social distancing. And you have to take care of your health. What about our spiritual health? That people completely ignore. Everybody's making a plan for the future. Of course, now who knows what the future is going to be. But child is born, immediately start a college. If you're a good parent, you start a college fund for the kid. You're 20 years old, you get your first job. You're putting money away for your retirement fund. Everybody's planning for the future. That's one of the symptoms of having human intelligence. But our spiritual future? How to actually get the tools that will help me live happily in the inevitable challenges of this world? That we just blow off like it's nothing. This is Kali Yuga. Arm yourself. You got a face mask, you got a hand sanitizer, arm yourself. Get the Ramayana. Get a set of Srimad Bhagavatams. If you have a set, get a set for your best friend. So $250, it's nothing. You can put it on your card. We'll show you how to put it in your card at the temple. Get it. You don't want to invest that, you don't have the money, certainly understandable. Get a Ramayana and read it. And make your life perfect. Become happy, do good for others, and do good for yourself. So we can end there. Victory to Ram. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Oh, the Bhagavatam is, it's 18 volumes, 12 cantos, profoundly illustrated. It has the original Devanagari, Sanskrit, you cannot have it. Perfect scholarship, explanation. It's just gold. More than gold. Thank you very much, Hare Krishna. All glories to Lord Ram.